This episode is brought to you by Riverside FM. Have you ever considered recording audio and video in high studio quality right from the convenience of your home? Your answer is Riverside FM. The link in this episode's show note allows you to record and edit with an AI assistant for free.
Pause. Take a break. Reflect on life. Your moment of greatness starts now.
In this episode, we'll be learning from the stories of recovery and triumph of our guest, who is an author, spiritual activist, motivational speaker, and certified yoga teacher. Welcome to the show, Sarah. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Toby. Doing fantastic today. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. I'm even doing much more better right now speaking with you and knowing
Oh,
that I'm going to learn so much from this conversation. So thank you so much for making up the time to join me on this episode of Mirror Talk, Soulful Conversations. And I'm happy that you're also doing fine. I would just love us to start from your life story and your life journey because reading about you, preparing for this conversation, I learned that you've gone through a lot, but you've turned all of that lot of things that you've gone through in the past to help people, to advocate for your clients, advocate for your audiences, to find their own power within. So can you tell us about this, your life journey so far, and what inspired you to, take all of this to help people out there?
thank you so much. Thank you for the warm welcome and for that introduction. You know, in yoga, we call these scars samskaras, things that have happened to us in the past that might trigger us.
Mhm.
And samskaras are maybe somebody might call it, your karma. And we have a saying over here that smooth seas do not make for strong sailors. It's through struggle and challenge that we grow.
Mhm.
And sure, I've had some things that have overcome, but I am so grateful for the struggle and the triumph, which was hard and took a lot of time and dedication and therapy of different kinds.
Mhm.
And I'm really, really grateful that I am now sober.
Mhm.
I no longer use alcohol in order to basically be intimate with
Mhm.
men. I've
Mhm.
come out of the closet
Mhm.
and I have recovered from a multi man rape, which I suffered 14 years ago.
Mhm.
And it's because of these struggles. I mean, somebody might say, well, you grew up very privileged. And yeah, I did. And I'm so grateful that my parents provided for me and that I have been able to have the resources to really cope with my trauma.
Yeah,
So,
I'm so happy that you put it all out there. Like you're sharing this story with the world, even with your book, which is a collection of poems called Look
mhm.
Lush. It's available on Amazon and other platforms out there. The link will be placed in the show notes of this episode for others to check it out. In the book, you outline your journey basically, like how your intentional healing basically from rape, from addiction, and from coming out of the closet, through the power that we all have within and also in conjunction with nature also. So I don't know if you could
Yes.
walk us through this journey. Like, how was it like, going through all of these sexual traumas or being raped, and how are you able to heal from it? I would love us to take it, step by step from the trauma, then coming out of the closet at the end. Yeah.
Yes, I would say that all those things happened, but it wasn't exactly in a straight line.
Mm,
I started meditating about 6.5 years ago, almost 7 years ago. I have been practicing yoga for over 20 years. And so that was, moving meditation was the first meditation that I did.
mm,
But I discovered TM, transcendental meditation, after looking for the right kind of meditation for me. I would go to a meditation workshop or go and participate in a guided meditation, and it never really stuck. I did things online with Deepak Chopra, nothing ever. I would always say, oh, I'm going to sit down and meditate, and then kind of make excuses. But once I found TM, Transcendental Meditation. I don't work for them. I'm not a teacher for them, but you can go to tm.org and find a teacher in your area. So I found a teacher. There is a cost associated with it that's a little hefty, but it's a one-time fee, and it's a 4-day course for 2 hours each, and you learn how to meditate with your own personalized mantra. So the teacher gives you a mantra, and then they ask you to meditate for 20 minutes twice a day. And it's through the power of meditation, sitting with myself in relative silence with this mantra repeating in your head, that I really started to look at my habits and the things that I was doing with my life. I was 5 months pregnant when I learned how to meditate, and I was not drinking alcohol because I was pregnant. But after I went back to drinking alcohol, and when my daughter was 18 months old, she picked up this little toy chalice at a friend's house at a party, and she sipped and she said, "This my wine." And it was like somebody punched me in the gut. I asked myself, what am I teaching this tiny child to do by my example? So I started changing my relationship with alcohol that day. And it took me about a year and a half to get sober. I would have a week of sobriety and then think that I could go back to drinking and stop. Because that was the thing, is I could not drink for a night, but if I had one, I was going to have 4. And so when I finally would string together like 6 weeks of sobriety, I noticed that I had trouble being intimate with my then husband. And every day I would sit down in meditation, and I would really start to parse out why. And I know what happened to me that night on July 25th, 2009, when I was on vacation with my family, and many men did exactly what they wanted with my body. And I did not deal with it. I didn't go to the police. I told one single solitary person, and otherwise I ignored it, and I started drinking more. I was 28 years old at the time and really wanted to get married and find a husband, because my parents just wouldn't accept. I knew that they wouldn't accept, and they still to this day do not accept that I am gay. I had lived as a gay woman in college, and then I went back into the closet because I just knew that I couldn't get married the right way and have a baby the right way if I were gay. And so it took that daily sitting with myself to start looking at what I'm doing with my life. And so all those things didn't exactly happen in an exact cascade, but I was trying to get sober, and I started getting a divorce. And through that, I got sober and I came out of the closet. And I am a free woman these days. I'm happily remarried, and I now have 3 children, 2 stepchildren, and lots of furry children with 4 legs. We have half of a zoo here.
Yeah.
And I consider myself so blessed to have healed through deep hypnotherapy and meditation.
Hey there, podcast enthusiasts. Are you ready to add a little sparkle to your day? If you're loving the insightful conversations and captivating stories on Mirror Talk Podcast, here's a friendly nudge to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on the empowering messages and thought-provoking discussions we bring to your ears. But wait, there's more. We're all about spreading positivity and inspiration, and you can be a part of it too. How? By sharing the love with your friends and family. Share this episode with your loved ones, and let's create a ripple effect of empowerment and growth together. And hey, if you've been enjoying what you hear, why not take a moment to leave us a glowing 5-star review? Your feedback fuels our passion to keep delivering content that resonates with you. So hit that subscribe button, share the love, and leave us a review. Let's keep the conversation going and spread the Mirror Talk magic far and wide. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, your support means the world to us.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I mean, that's a thing that a lot of people, I believe, also suffer from or are going through, basically, like, being locked up in I won't say locked up, but being, kept in a particular closet, for example, or being kept in a shelf, basically, due to how, the norm or society has defined us to be. And I'm so happy that you were able to, become honest with yourself, become sober also, and also go on that journey of, finding who you truly are. But how was it like for you then coming out at the age of 40? You knew all the way from college, but you went back in, you got married, you did the right thing, you had a child, and I mean, like, according to the society, basically. But
Mhm.
then you at the age of 40, what prompted you to come out then at the age of 40, and how did that all go about?
Well, I've always called myself bisexual, but of course, I was married to a man for 5 years and was, dating him before that, but he didn't
Mm,
really like that terminology. So I really shoved that down. But
mm,
coming out was a very slow process. I didn't come out officially until I was 40 years old, like online, publicly, I would say.
mm, mm,
But my close friends knew that I had gotten sober and that I didn't have to drink to be intimate with men anymore. And
mm,
so I started, dating women. And it, I had never been on a dating site previous to that. So that was a really interesting experience
mm.
to have. I mean, at first it was really exciting. And then I guess it got a little disheartening. I'm sure the people who are on dating sites, you're looking at this and going like, okay, I'm just gonna shut it off. And then a
Yeah.
few weeks later, we come back to it and look at it
Mm,
again because it's hard to meet people, especially because I wasn't going out to bars and drinking. And that's
mm,
kind of like a more traditional way, but I was in my late 30s. I really didn't want to be at bars, and I certainly didn't want to be at bars because of the alcohol. I didn't want to
God.
meet people who were at bars. I
Mm,
wanted to meet
mm,
people who were doing more, I guess, traditional things that didn't
mm.
involve just sitting at a bar and getting wasted. So, yeah,
Mm,
coming out was not easy, and
mm,
there are some members of my family who are better with it, like my brother and sister, and some of my cousins, extended family,
mm,
and others who think I'm a sinner and that they need to convert me and that I'm going to go to hell. And
mm.
so, it's still a conversation piece
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
I mean, I just believe that love is love and that God, the universe is made of love. I mean, the opposite of fear is
mm,
love.
mm.
And I don't have to be afraid anymore. I don't have to be afraid to be myself,
Yeah, that's
live
true.
my truest.
Exactly. I mean, you don't have to be afraid to be who you are, basically. And I was speaking with a friend of mine. I don't know, some weeks back, or was it last week, I believe, and we were talking about, um, not confining yourself to the norm. For example, taking up space. For example, don't be scared to take up space. Don't be scared to be who you truly are, and don't be scared of, how other people, judge you for being who you are, because there's a lot of space for everyone, and you don't have to be in a closet because of how the society is defined or structured. You can come out of the closet and take up your space, and people that will love you will be around you. Basically, the people that are meant for you will accept you for who you truly are. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that you don't have to be gay to come out of the closet. There are a lot of closets that people live in.
Mm,
People live in closets according to what their family or society thinks that they should do. One of my old therapists said, like, don't should on yourself. A should is some sort of internal or external, usually expectation. It might be actually an internal expectation, but it's usually rooted in what society thinks we should be or do or say or wear. And yeah, I think that there are a lot of closets that people can come out of in that way, not wanting to, to marry the right person or the wrong person according to what their family thinks, and not wanting to be who they truly are by taking up space. As you say, I literally was talking to my wife about this today, about the ability to take up space. And I think, especially as women, we shrink ourselves down so often and don't want to be in the way and don't want to be an imposition and don't want to be too loud. But we have the right to take up space. And I think, especially in America, people have really embraced that. We love to take up space in America, right?
Yeah.
And to be proud of it and proud of our bodies, whether that's weightlifting or just having a bigger body. And I think as long as we're healthy in body, mind, and spirit, and not infringing on other people's space, that we should be allowed and have the right to take up as much space as we want. So I wholeheartedly agree with you there.
Yeah. But I believe to be able to do this, I want us to know what the power within is. And I'm so happy that you all people do this. So can you like educate us on how we could find the power within so that we could be our full self? We could be our true self.
I believe that there's a reason why meditation and medication are just one letter off.
Mm.
We all have this still, quiet power within ourselves. And it's been proven that when we meditate, the amygdala in the brain, which is where we process pain, sadness, grief, trauma, shrinks. And the prefrontal cortex of the brain, what we call the brain's CEO, where we're able to make sound decisions and we're able to calm ourselves down, increases in its functioning with regular meditation. So if you think about the power that we all have, I mean, we might think that we need to go to the gym and lift weights, or we need to learn how to do Qigong or Tai Chi in order to have real power. But there's a lot of power in silence. If we can just dedicate the time to ourselves. I mean, in today's society, we're constantly bombarded with messages about what we should look like, and we need to turn back the hands of time in order to not have wrinkles, or we need to wear this certain label in order to be accepted by ourselves and by others. But really, if we stop looking out and just basically turn our eyes around and look within by closing our eyes and taking some time to sit with who we truly are, we will find that we are powerful and that the only person we have to answer to is ourselves, and that we can speak our truth with love. And sometimes, maybe we have to speak our truth, and maybe at first it doesn't come out with a whole lot of love. Maybe at first it's just learning to say no when we mean no, and yes when we mean yes, instead of people pleasing. And then when we begin to assert ourselves, we can work on a kinder delivery method, a kinder way to say it.
Yeah.
But at first, it just takes doing it. And the longer we sit with ourselves in that quiet space, the more we can actually hear our own power. We learn to listen to that still quiet voice, that intuition, because our intuition does not yell. Those are usually messages from the outside, even though it might sound like it's on the inside. Our intuition is that knowing. You know that that person maybe isn't somebody we should be friends with or pursue romantically, but they seem so appealing and our logic says otherwise. But we have a gut feeling, we have a knowing, and it's trusting ourselves and relying on power that we do have to listen to that in stillness and to listen to that still small voice when we're outside of meditation. Because that's a lot of people tell me meditation is so hard. Yeah, it builds so much resilience. If you can sit and train yourself, it's like Dr. Joe Dispenza. He kind of likens our brain and our bodies to a dog. He says, sit, stay. Because when we start sitting, we think about the to-do list and we think about, oh, I need to go get that thing and put it in my car. I need to call that person. Oh, I forgot to. And so the desire is to open our eyes and to get busy again, because it's hard to sit with ourselves. But the more we do it, the more resilience it builds, both internally, like in our psyche, and literally in our brains. So we all have the power within in order to answer your question. And it's built day by day the more we listen.
Yes. So we have to listen to ourselves and listen to what our intuition is telling us and just stay silent and build that resilience basically to be able to hear yourself. Yeah. But Sarah, it's only saying right now, like, okay, I know from experience, you've experienced a lot of trauma, for example, in the past. You had to go through that healing. And then someone is sitting down there at a very early stage trying to, stay focused and meditate. But then you have all these voices that speaks to you, telling you things that are not true, like, okay, you are less than worthy, for example, because of this and that happened, or because because you are people pleasing, for example, and you are trying to hide yourself, trying not to have offend other people out there, and then all of these voices start judging you negatively. How then do you silence these voices in your head and then get deeper to who you truly are and speak to yourself with love and with care and kindness?
Great questions. Several questions. I wrote some of them down.
Oh,
Worthiness is something that I think almost every single human deals with. It comes out in different forms. I'm not smart enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not old enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not big enough. I'm not, all these things about not enough basically comes down to worthiness. And yes, we end up pleasing others in order to make us feel worthy to be their friend or their partner or their colleague or their boss or their employee. And I I think your question about how to silence the voices has a little bit of an internal fallacy, because the voice never really goes away. It's just superseding it with our own knowing. I mean, I was taught to be somebody that I'm not. I was raised in the deep South, and there are things that oftentimes come up in my head that I was taught. But I know better, and I choose my own knowing, and I choose my path, even though I was taught a certain way. It never goes away, but we learn to not respond to it. And in answer to your question is just about how to do it, I think working with a facilitator is step one. Whether that is a YouTube channel that you find where you can watch inspirational speakers. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of different kinds of meditation available for free on YouTube. There are probably thousands of different apps out there at this point for meditation specifically. And one of the most powerful tools that we have is our breath. We have something called the autonomic nervous system, which regulates everything. We don't have to think about it. It sweats for us, it salivates for us, it digests for us, it breathes for us, it beats our heart. We don't have to sit there all day long. And gosh, we wouldn't be able to if we had to think about every single breath we take.
Mm.
But our breath is the one aspect of our autonomic nervous system. I mean, somebody could say, sure, you can lower or raise your heart rate if you really sit there and try. But
Mm.
our breath is the one that you can instantaneously take over.
Mm.
And our breath, as we call it in yoga, is our life force, prana. If you think about it, we can survive for a few weeks without food, a few days without water, but only a few minutes without our breath. So, the breath is an incredibly powerful tool that we can use, especially for beginning meditation. Simply paying attention to the breath and watching it, because we notice that when we start watching the breath, we start to try to control it.
Mm.
And then there's also breath work. I mean, Wim Hof is an extreme example, but there's all kinds of different breathwork techniques that will help us to distract from the thoughts
Yeah.
and just continue to bring ourselves back to the breath. And depending on whether we breathe in and out of the nose or in and out of the mouth or in through the nose and out of the mouth, that causes really big changes in the oxygen and carbon dioxide differential in our bodies.
Mm.
I myself practice Kundalini yoga regularly, and there's a lot of breathwork meditation in there. And it's amazing because after you do a posture, which involves some movement and maybe a chant, but definitely breathwork is always involved, you sit and you just close your eyes and you notice what's changed in your body. And it's amazing the power of our breath. And coming back to that power that we have within, we always have our breath with us. It doesn't matter if we're in the middle of the ocean skinny dipping or if we're in the Arctic all bundled up. Our breath is incredibly powerful and we always have it with us.
Mm.
So when we go into fight or flight, the first thing to go is our breath. All of a sudden, our body, part of the autonomic nervous system, that's the
Yeah.
sympathetic nervous system, is
Mm.
sending information for us to fight or flee or sometimes
Mm.
freeze.
Mm.
So if we can harness our breath and make sure that we're taking deep belly breaths, then we can oxygenate our brain and send vital nutrients to our heart and our lungs, whereas the body's automatically pushing it to our extremities so that we can fight or flee.
Mm.
So the breath is incredibly powerful and it's a great way to shift your thinking. I mean, a little bit of what we call breath of fire or Kalabadi,
Yeah.
just for a minute or two, will change your day. Breath is a way to move energy, and then everything is energy. Right?
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, I mean, when you were speaking about this and explaining this, I was just getting that like a little bit of illustration in my head. Like
Mhm.
I saw that, for example, the power within us could be like, for example, covered up with a lot of leaves or dust, basically due to the traumas that we've gone through in life or the kind of bad experiences in the past. But by the time we are, doing this breath work and doing meditation, for example, we have the ability to then blow off the leaves of the power within us or the dust within us. And with constant practice, like you do, then all of a sudden, at the end of the day, we're able to uncover the power within us by, kind of the breath work that blows off the dust, blows off the leaves, blows off, and then at the end of the day, uncovers that's potential that lies deep down within us.
Toby, what a beautiful metaphor. I will say that it is a very windy day usually, and we're constantly having to intentionally blow off the
Mm,
leaves and the dust.
mm,
And it's hard. And when we do that, sometimes we inhale some of it and sometimes it gets in our eyes. And
yeah.
it can be very uncomfortable, especially at first. And so I encourage my clients to just try 3 minutes. Just make the habit. It's like James Clear says in Atomic Habits. It's better to make the decision to go inside and lace up your shoes and drive to the gym. That's most of the hurdle. Once you've gotten to the gym and walked inside, you're probably going to stay for more than 10 minutes. But even if you only stay for 10 minutes, you've started that habit. So that if every day you lace up your shoes and drive to the gym and go inside, at least you've started that little pathway in our brain, because we have neural pathways that are carved from use after use to drink or to get angry or to call a certain person at a certain time of the day. All these little habits. I mean, they say at least 40%, and that would be for a super spontaneous creative person, but more like 80 or 90% of our lives are run by habit.
Yeah.
Go into a restaurant and we think of a certain person and we order a certain drink, and that's because it's familiar. And it's an advantageous thing. It's easier for us to make decisions because we've already made that decision. It's
Yes.
a survival mechanism. Comes from, we used to see a berry and, oh, last time I ate that berry, I got really sick. I'm going to remember that. I'm not going to eat that berry. So it makes decision making much easier, but we can hack it and use it to our advantage in order to continue to blow the leaves and blow the dust and dirt off to find that power within. Beautiful
Yeah.
analogy. I love it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I learned that from just listening to you, basically. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and one thing that you also help people with is overcoming stress in life. I believe also meditation could help to help us overcome stress. And in this day and age where we have a lot of things to do, a lot of distractions around us, we get so much stress with a lot of things that we have to achieve, and deadlines that we have to meet with. But then we have someone like you, Sarah. Thanks to you, and you teach us, pocket-sized techniques to process stress, improve daily happiness, and bring out the best versions of ourselves. So can you walk us through some of the techniques that we could make use of to let go of stress and become even much more happier and successful?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the gifts of meditation is something called metacognition. So, meta just meaning looking over all of it. So, metacognition is thinking about your thinking. And that's what we start to do when we meditate. We start to watch our thoughts and notice the quality of our thoughts and notice what's our go to and what's that thing that I'm constantly getting annoyed at, or that thing that I'm constantly worrying about, or that memory that I'm constantly going back to. And thoughts are things. The things that we think about become words and they become deeds. And the things that we say and do repeatedly are habits, and habits make up our character. But it all begins with our thoughts. So if we can start to watch, even just being mindful, which mindfulness is different from meditation, they have mindfulness meditation, but just being mindful and having a little check in with ourselves. Okay, where am I? Where are my feet? Where's my body? How am I feeling right now? So setting some sort of an alarm three times a day that goes off, and we just take a moment and we're like, oh, okay, where am I right now? Check in with ourselves. Little habits like that can really lead to big changes, because then we start to notice, I notice that every time I think about this person, I get anxious. Or I notice that every time I think about having to go deal with this situation, I get depressed or I get sad. So the thoughts are the key. Watching our thoughts, noticing our thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. It's all about how we hold it. So, for example, something that I use when I give motivational talks, let's say you have trouble sleeping at night. Maybe you're an insomniac, or maybe you just have trouble getting to sleep at night and you've tried everything. And so you're about to go to bed and you're like, oh, I have to get up in 6 hours. I'm not going to get any sleep tonight. I know it. I know what's going to happen. And I'm going to feel like this, and I'm going to have to take more melatonin. And then I'm only going to end up with 4 hours of sleep. And I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to be so tired. And then you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, I'm so tired.
Mhm.
We can change the way that we hold that situation and say, okay, I know that this is what I've always done, but I'm going to hold it differently. I'm going to hold it lightly instead of gripping it and trying to control it. It's like we can't push the river, right? There's a great meme that I've seen of this guy with a janitor's mop and bucket at the
Mm.
ocean and trying
Mm.
to, constantly clean up the ocean.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got this issue. We've got a sleep problem. So, what
Mm.
if we say, all right, I am so grateful for the sleep that I'm going to get tonight. I'm going to try not to control it. I'm going to do a breathwork meditation, some sort of listen to something soothing and fall asleep like that. And then maybe my ear pods will fall out if I have a partner in the bed, or maybe I can listen to it and just go into sleep. And whatever sleep I get, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to be grateful for the sleep that I get.
Mm.
So it's just, how do we hold our problems? Are we holding it like it's a problem, or are we holding it like it's an opportunity? Because
Mm.
just like I said at the beginning, all these challenges are making us stronger. Smooth seas do not make for strong sailors. We're not going to get strong. It's like when we go to the gym and rip our muscles open, literally rip them open so that they can heal
Mm.
and become stronger. We do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so I
Yeah.
believe we take on these trials and tribulations, these traumas,
Mhm.
in order to grow ourselves and then be able to help others and be
Mm.
able to be more compassionate. And it's like the Dalai Lama, or it's Thich Nhat Hanh says, if somebody comes up to me and whacks me upside the head
Yeah.
while I'm walking down the street, I can
Mm.
choose to have compassion because they're hurting, they're suffering,
Mm.
instead of thinking about what they did to me.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I mean, for someone out there who is trying to, become much more happier, or who is trying to, get sober, for example, or become even much more honest with themselves. Can you give us like a piece of advice that could help such a person on that journey of recovery or discovery?
Find a group of people who you resonate with.
Mm.
Sometimes that's Alcoholics Anonymous. There are lots of other groups out there to help people get sober, especially online. Lots available. And again, I think that there's a little bit of a fallacy in that pursuit of happiness. In
Mm.
America, we say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And first of all, happiness is a fleeting feeling. We can't
Mm.
be happy all the time. I think that acceptance and satisfaction are much more noble goals, because if we can just accept what is, I mean, there are only two things we can control: our thoughts and our actions. No matter what we say and do, we can't control what other people think about us, and we can't control what other people do
Mm.
or say or
Mm.
how they act, right?
Yeah.
So, really, it's about accepting what we cannot control and learning to live with that.
Mm.
But it's that pursuit of happiness that's the problem, because it's just like when we use affirmations. I talk a lot about using affirmations, because when we use affirmations in the way that they can be used effectively, we say them over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And we use them in the present tense, because if you say, I will be nice to my mom, I will do my homework, that's still in the future. And all we have is right now.
Mm.
So I complete my homework. I am pleasant to my mother. Otherwise, it's like the donkey with the carrot hanging out in front of them that they're always walking toward.
Yeah.
If we don't embody it in this moment, which is all we have,
Mhm.
instead of living in the past, that's depression, or
Mhm.
living in the future, that's anxiety. If
Mhm.
we can embody the now and just say, okay, this is what I'm dealing with right now. And I don't want to drink or pick up a drug, or maybe it's anger. that is your addiction, or shopping, or gambling.
Mm.
But if we can just say, just for today, or just for this 10 minutes, just for this hour, just for the next 5 hours, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to control myself, whatever it is. Because that's all we have is right now. And we think that this dopamine rush of whatever our proclivity is going to make us feel better.
Mm.
But science has shown it is a very, very quick fix.
Yeah.
And we always want more. That's how it works in the brain. And the same thing can happen with meditation.
Mm.
If we
Yeah.
just sit down and get quiet and pay attention to our breath and pay attention to what we're feeling instead of distracting and dissociating and not being present, that gets addictive too.
Mm.
I love meditation. I do it every single morning
Mm.
as soon as I wake up, and another time, and then I do it again before bed. Every time I sit down and meditate, my thoughts are more organized after I stand back up. And I used meditation to not drink. Whenever I wanted to go have a drink, and I was like, nope, I'm feeling too good. My life is getting too good.
Mm.
I'm going to sit here with myself. I'm going to listen to a guided meditation. I'm going to repeat my mantra. I'm going to get quiet. I mean, we have a few minutes, but instead we scroll,
Mm.
right? We distract, we dissociate, we don't deal with what we have on the inside.
Yeah.
And the beauty is when meditation is addictive, and you really want to go to a meditation conference for a week and do nothing but meditation because it just is so delicious.
Yeah.
So I think that can be a replacement. And that's
Yes.
what worked for me personally.
Wow. Thanks for that. I mean, one thing that's sticking with me right now is we are in control of our thoughts and actions, and we have the ability to then move ourselves towards being attracted to positive actions, taking positive steps like meditating, for example, instead of drinking, or cultivating good habits and making bad habits less attractive, less satisfying, or less obvious for us to see. Or yeah.
You read
James
the
Clear.
book. You read the book. Yeah.
I'm just quoting James Clear, basically, the four laws, basically.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah.
right.
Yes, yes. I mean, that's it. I think I also believe that's the best way to go about it. Yeah, making it less obvious, making it not easy to get, making it unattractive, and making it dissatisfying, and then you live a better life, basically.
Yes.
Yes,
I
yes.
read James Clear's book so that I could help my clients, because I've always had pretty good habits, although obviously I had a destructive one. But I
Mm.
read his book so that I could teach workshops on
Ah.
how to establish good habits, because a lot of the things that I talk about, I've been making a gratitude list for 3.5 years. Every day I make a gratitude list. Every day I do affirmations. Every day I meditate. And it sounds easy for me because I love these things.
Mm.
But for some people, they have trouble establishing habits. So yeah, James Clear's
Mm.
book is a really great start for anyone
Yes.
who's looking to change their lives, because he talks about the 4 ways to make a habit and the 4 ways to break a habit, which
Mm.
are similar but different. I mean, they're synonymous as far as they line up, but it's different because you have to, I mean, breaking a habit sounds easier, right? You're just not doing something,
Mm.
but replacing it with something else is incredibly helpful, as you
That's
mentioned.
true. That's very true. Yes. Wow. I'm so happy that we got to speak about all of this. I'm glad. And I'm so happy that you also made mention of gratitude, because before I let you go, Sarah, I'd love you to mention one thing that you're grateful for, despite the fact that you've gone through sexual traumas, rape, addictions in the past, and, facing family due to coming out. What's like one thing, despite all of this, that you're grateful for right now?
I'm grateful for all of those things that have happened to me. I believe that life is not happening to me, it's happening for me. When I have difficult things that come up, I try to flip the script in my head and say, oh, look at this opportunity. I literally said that on Friday. My parents were at it again and trying to convert me and tell me that I need to get married again to my ex-husband. And I was in tears and crying and talking to my wife and saying, this is for me. They are doing these things for me. So I am regularly grateful for the trouble that they give me because it makes me stronger. If I can get through the people who gave me life not accepting me for who I am, I can get through anything. So
That's true.
yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for all of it. I'm grateful for the rape. I have forgiven every single one of them. I had a deep reliving with some hypnotherapy, and I looked at all of their faces and forgave every single one of them. They didn't do that to me. They did that for themselves. And it's been a beautiful release for me. It's opened up the opportunity for me to talk to my children about their body and about how if someone is touching you and making you uncomfortable, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's your best friend or a family member. You tell them to stop. And if they don't stop, you get out of there. You don't need to feel obligated, no matter who it is. Because most sexual trauma is by people that we know well or that the family knows well. How else would they get into that situation? So, what a beautiful opportunity I have to speak to the people who I love the most and equip them with tools to live their life. So that they're going to have things that happen to them too. I can't protect them from everything,
That's
but
true.
I can at least teach them what I've learned.
Yeah, of course. Wow, Sarah, I mean, I've learned so much from you from this episode, and I could keep on asking more questions and more questions. But I just love us to talk about your services and how people could reach out to you, work with you. What's the best way to do all of this?
I have a waiting list for my coaching services. There's a wait list available on my website at sarawebb.com. That's SARAWEBBSAYS.com. I am also an inspirational speaker, and you can reach out to me again on my website. I'm also on Instagram at Sara Webb Says, SARAWEBBSAYS. And yeah, I teach yoga and I do guided meditation. The guided meditation is on live stream, and there's links available on my website. That's on Monday and on Thursday at 12:30 Eastern time for half an hour, and it's through a yoga studio that's local here in Florida. But yeah,
Nice.
I'd love to hear from any of your listeners that have questions or want to know more. And as you mentioned, my book is available on Amazon in print as well as digital download, and also on barnesandnoble.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to place the link to your website in the show notes of this episode. So I encourage everyone out there to just click on the link, copy the link, and you get access to other informations and other details about your services, even to read more about yourself and all the wonderful things that you offer to the world out there. I really appreciate this conversation. Sarah, I'm so grateful that we got the time to actually sit down to talk about all of these things and you being open about everything that you've experienced and using all of these to help people even to find the power within them. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Toby.
Wow, you made it to the very end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'm grateful for your time, your love, and your contributions. Subscribe, like, review, and share this podcast. God bless you. Bye. Bye.